Hello and welcome to the Meet the Expert series of the Talking Locs with Locitude podcast. I am your host, Ade Balogun, and this episode is produced by Savage Media. In today's episode, we are joined by Chiaka Michael-Ogbonna, a natural hair practitioner, a loctician, loc critic, who is running a personalized loc salon for women in Lagos. Today, we're going to have a pair-to-pair conversation as loc experts. This is a long one, so grab some popcorn and get ready for this awesome, gistful and info-packed conversation. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, second go. Hi Chiaka, welcome to the Meet the Expert series of the Talking Locs with Locitude podcast. It's a big pleasure to have you on, and I'm really excited to have you on Loctician to Loctician. But before we start, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you, Ade, for inviting me. And to tell you the truth, when you actually reached out to me to come on this podcast, I was like, "Come, am I an expert?" Then I have to go and look for the definition of expert. I said, "Okay, I think I fit in here." Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so my name is Chiaka Michael-Ogbonna, and I'm a natural hair practitioner. And I say that because I have a total knowledge. I have a knowledge of so many things that has to do with natural hair. But I specialize, my heart beats for locks, and I do that effortlessly in my roles as a loctician, in my role as a locs educator, and in my role as a locs critic. So basically everything I project myself to be it on social media or physically, online, offline, it always has to do with having people be more in tune with their decision to have their natural hair as locs. My target audience are basically women. This is not to say I'm not open to having men that can benefit from what I have to share, but basically women. So I am out to help women embrace and enjoy their choice to have their natural hair as locs. I am Lagos-based as a loctician, and I run a personalized salon here in Lagos, catering to women of all ages and strata. I do my best to maintain all reasonable holistic practices that would help locs thrive as much as possible. And when it comes to my part as a locs educator and a locs critic, I express myself clearly on all social media platforms that I'm active on. Mm-hmm. It's as much content that centers around right education, information about locs, spanning from my experience as a loc head and as a loctician, being that I've had locs for close to 15 years. I'll be 15 years loc in December 2021, yes. So I have the experience as having carried locs myself, and then having handled so many types of locs as a loctician. I mean, I think everyone should listen to me somewhat, what I have to say. So I'm good on both sides as a loc head and a loctician, yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's basically what I'm about. Then, of course, I'm a mother of 2 boys, aged 17 and 13.
Oof.
Yeah.
I have a long way to catch up when it comes to that one.
You will get there. And when you get there, you tell your own story as well.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm really happy to have you on. And like I was saying in our first failed attempts at the beginning of the recording, that people might find this weird because most times people don't want to cooperate or collaborate within the same industry. But I've had a really pleasant experience collaborating within the hair care industry in Nigeria. I feel like there's a sisterhood, and I'm really happy that you agreed to do this with me. And I'm excited to see where the conversation goes and how we're able to at least help our listeners and how they kind of think of what a loctician is. So first of all, I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth in this, and please feel free to ask me questions when we might not agree, or if there's anything you're pondering as well. So let's not look at it as an interviewer podcast. So I think the first place I would like to go is my own personal experience starting out my locs. And when I started my locs 11 and a half years or thereabouts ago, I definitely wasn't a loctician. I did not know anything about locks. And the first place I went to was somewhere in Ikeja in Lagos. And they had mixed coffee and toothpaste. They didn't let me know what it was. They had put it in my hair. My hair, nobody really advised me on what to expect. So when they told me they were done, my hair was just kind of like off. I was like, is this it? But I couldn't even really say anything because they were supposed to be the experts. My hair could not dry because there was paste in it. My entire pillowcases kind of were soiled with brown liquid, which at the time I didn't know what it was. So it was so confusing. And even though that sounds like a very long time ago, I'm still hearing that people are still having similar experiences. So I think my first question to you is that if you want to lock your hair, how do you even start to know what a good loctician is? Where do you even go?
And the way that as you are relaying your experience is just so similar to my own experience. And that's, we're talking about 14 and a half years ago. Yours just, it was 11. I'm like, you would have thought things would have gotten better. But it's just somewhat the same thing, because basically I too went through the same thing you went through. I was just at the mercy of people that really didn't know what they were doing. But then who was I to complain? I didn't know anything either. Mm-hmm. So I too went through that process of having to be severely tortured, all in the name of locks. Mm-hmm. Mine, I had the incident of, I had grown my hair. I mean, I imagined that I wanted long locks. The only exposure I had to locks were Whoopi Goldberg, Lisa Bonet, what's her name, Lauryn Hill, and all that. So I knew I wanted them long, and I was transitioning from perm hair, and I had my hair woven, fixed, weave on, just to have the new growth come out, and then I'm ready to go. And I go to the salon, and this guy says, madam, your hair is too long. We have to cut it. And he cuts my hair. I just saw my sofa. All the things I saw, all the headaches I had growing this hair. Because I have a typical 4C hair, tightly curled hair, African hair, all on the floor. And I'm like, what? And then he brings out this sponge, and he brings out this concoction, just like you. And he rubbed my hair. In fact, I had my patch. I said, is this it? It is it. And then I looked at the mirror. I didn't see anything. I imagined I would see locks instantly. I just saw myself with sprouts of things, of standing with no definition, nothing. So going back to your question, anybody at this time, I mean, we had excuse then that there was this no information out there on the internet and all that. But I believe nobody should have that excuse now, because there's so much information. No matter how inconsistent, I mean, everybody has an opinion about how locks should be handled or started or anything. But I believe some typical issues will cut across everybody's opinion about how locks should be started. So I think everyone should do a research first on what you want. First, identify what locks are, because everyone has an idea of what locks are. Some people these days, some people can go as far as saying they want temporary locks. I'm like, what's that? Find out what locks are. Be sure it is something that fits into your lifestyle. It fits into your personality. Because, locks, way back, we had to constantly defend why we had locks. It wasn't popular like that. Who was the only person that had, what's her name? Dakori was the only person that had locks then. Yep. Yeah. So, I don't know how she survived. I wish you would have her on board to speak about her experience back then.
From back then.
Exactly. But, you have to understand whether it fits into your profile as a person. If it's something you can actually have on and not feel like you have to explain yourself or feel inhibited. You don't have to feel like you're standing out or you're odd. So you have to embrace it and say, okay, this is what I want. First, be sure it's what you want. And you have to desire it. You're not just wanting it for the short term. You want to go the long haul. If you haven't thought of the fact that, what will happen if I can't fix a weave on my hair? What will happen if I can't change my look? Will I be okay with it? If you can't get those questions ticked out, we enter into trouble. So you're researching about locks. You're checking within yourself if it's something you can actually carry on. I always tell people, look, locks are not a hairstyle. Don't call it a hairstyle. I hate when I hear locks are being called a hair. In my opinion, hairstyle is something you have in temporarily and you're going to take down. If you have locks and you're styling it, then you can say, okay, you have a hairstyle. But no one should term locks as a hairstyle, because it's something long term. It's not short term. You don't take it down. It's not something, I'm tired and you're losing it. like after 2 weeks or 2 months, so it's not a hairstyle. So you're checking, you're finding out how you want your locks to look. How can these locks be created? The honest truth is that when it comes to starting up locks, a lot of people are not certain about it. In fact, in Lagos here, and not just in Nigeria, because I have had the privilege of experiencing, I think in 2016, 2017, I had something like, I went on a tour of Nigeria so much. I was traveling around. And I can say that everywhere in Nigeria, there's just one specific technique everyone believes locks can be started with. And that is not true. So your research is, you're finding out how you want your locks to look. How can it be achieved? What techniques are you going to use? And then you're going to have to look for that person that can deliver what you want. That person that you can actually sit down and speak to, and the person is speaking your lingo. The person knows what you want. The person can actually assess your desires and then interpret them in the kind of locks you want. Because everyone claims to know this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that person, I mean, I say that locks is a relationship, having locks is a relationship. And if that your person, I don't want to use the term loctician because these days it's abused. So let me just say the locks stylist or locks practitioner. I don't know. Let's just say that person that will start your locks, I mean, your sister will start your locks. She should be able to understand what you want and interpret them to what it's going to be. And if you can't find that person, please don't start. If I don't get it how people can be in a locality, they can't find someone that can clearly say, I'm a loctician, and they start their locks. So why would you do that? Why do you want to put yourself under stress? You don't have somebody that you can say, okay, this person does. Even if the person is going to do a good job, let him just be there. You don't have that. I mean, there should be somebody that will start it up. There should be someone that is knowledgeable enough to interpret everything in terms of techniques, sectioning, and all that. And then, of course, you've already figured it out for yourself that you want locks. And then the rest of it is, and then accepting that, look, this is a process. This is not something that is one-off. You're going to go through stages of development, stages of understanding. You're going to have to be flexible to accepting everything that comes. But that if you're not sure why you want locks, you're going to find yourself stumbling along the way. And before you know, you have people having ideas and you're just filtering so many things and you're confused. And then you're frustrated, and before you know it, it's all over. So you're confident you want locks, you're finding out the right person to do it for you, you're knowledgeable about what exactly you want, and you're going to state it exactly. You don't let anybody look. Doctors, yes, you go to doctors for them to know what to do, but do you know that you can actually Google something and tell some doctors that, look, I don't think this will work out for me. It happens these days. We have information everywhere. So why would you think because somebody is a loctician, that means the person knows it all? You have to go armed with your own level of information so that you don't get bamboozled with the loctician that really doesn't know what he's doing.
I completely, I totally agree with everything you have just said. That it is on you to kind of do the research, and I think we all have like a inbuilt gauge as to be able to get someone to convince you. You can tell when someone knows their onions. You should have your questions, because you can get all sorts of information from the internet, and it is worth it to have somebody who is an expert be able to break it down to you and say, okay, this is what this means. That is what that means. This is what will be suitable for you, and etc. etc. So that's the best way to actually, the best way to be able to achieve locks. So,
but then again, you remember that there are people that think, especially those that are in that abroad, they think they will want to go the DIY option.
Yes.
I'm always very skeptical about that. I always say, look, your foundation is key when it comes to starting locks. And DIY, I'm telling you, there's some level of, you won't get it right. I don't know. I'm yet to see someone that did DIY right. I'm not even just talking about having the locks sprout out eventually. I'm talking about the sectioning, everything, those are part of the foundation. DIY, I would think those that would opt for the DIY option, which of course DIY means do it yourself. If you opt for that, I would think they should go against that. They have a professional start it off, set the right foundation for you, and then you can continue thereafter. Nobody will hold the gun to your neck thereafter.
Well, I see your point. I see your point with starting off with somebody that actually does have a good knowledge of what they're doing and getting to section the hair exactly how you want it. But I think in my own practice, I personally try and allow room for, because you meet all sorts of people and you kind of have to understand what they're trying to achieve with their locks. I have met people who have come to me and what they really want is freeform locks. And I have to explain to them that, look, you don't need me. You just need to stop combing your hair. Wash your hair, make sure it's clean, make sure you condition it, but you don't need to come to the salon for me to touch your hair, except maybe you want a special intense wash, because I'm not going to retwist your hair because that's not what you want. So I think it depends. If you want traditional locks at the very least, then you should actually start with a third party that knows what they are doing. Now, I want to take the conversation.
I think that's where, okay, sorry, that's where I have to be clear on what I represent. So, because now you mentioned the freeform part, I'm all about cultivated locks, right? So that's what informs everything I say. It has to do with having cultivated locks. So freeform locks are not in my terrain at all.
Right. So cool. Okay, so now speaking about traditional locks, even though I do have a few clients that have freeform locks and all types of locks, and some of them, I know my limits of what I'm willing to do, because in my head, locks are locks. So if you come with sister locks, I can tell you what I can do for you. If you want micro locks, I can tell you what I can do for you. And I'm usually very honest in my practice as to what I'm comfortable doing and what makes sense to me as a loctician. But talking about traditional locks, which I still think, I know sister locks, micro locks have caught on now. That's the rave of this moment. But traditional locks are often the most common. And right now, there's the instant locks, there's the comb coils method, there's the two-strand twist method, there's the interlocking method. There's all sorts of ways that people can achieve locks. As a loctician, do you have a personal favorite method, and why?
My dear, that favorite thing goes with my mood.
Okay.
No, see, with experience, at the beginning I thought I had a favorite, but I've come to realize that favorite changes with the person itself, with the hair I'm dealing with. So, but honestly, if I'm going to say, because in my opinion, every locking technique has its pros and its cons. So basically, you are out to choose that which favors you the most. Because where you gain hair, you lose on the other one. I mean, there's no perfect locking technique, but I would say that starting your locks with comb coils and maintaining them with palm rolling gives the perfect locks. When I say perfect locks, I'm talking about structure, I'm talking about texture, I'm talking about appearance. So starting with comb coils, because comb coils will give a kind of uniformity along the shaft of the hair, the locks. So, and then maintain the palm rolling. If done properly and without, if it's done properly, you get the best kind of lock, because it gives room to expand. It's not restricted to a certain stiff structure like that. So, but then again, irrespective of the fact that I see it as the best technique to achieve what I define as the best kind of lock, it may not just all go well with some hair textures. And so I don't impose it on anybody. The best I can do will tell you, okay, look, I think this would work better for your hair texture, your hair density, and your lifestyle. But if you insist on having this for this so and so reason, I'm open to. I just tell you because everything has a repercussion, and everything has where you are going to have to say, oh, did I really make the right decision? So I'm telling you, I'm guiding you. I'm not imposing on my ideology on you, but I'm telling you, okay, this is what I think is best. But if you think this is what you're going to get, if you choose this, I hope you're ready for it. And if you say, go ahead, I move on. Chicken.
Yeah, awesome. I also agree with you. So my perspective, like I would say almost in 80 to 90% of the cases, we start locks with the comb twist and continue with the palm rolling. And for that same reason, I feel like your hair, in my experience too, your hair tends to have the fullest version, like the most robust, luscious version of itself in that form of lock. So I'm kind of happy that we agreed to that.
And then there's the flexibility. It allows for flexibility. If you're one that is keen on styling and all that, it's just awesome. It's just about the best.
Yeah, I do like it. So when I started my business about 6 years ago, there were different methods that you already had, but I think it was mostly about winning. The word when you win, WEAN, that word, when you're winning people off bad practices, like bad products, like wax, heavy products, coffee and toothpaste. and all sorts of things, and just trying to get, because I felt like most of the clients I was experiencing, they outsource their hair care to whoever is doing their hair, whether the person is an expert or not, they don't care. They just want to sit in the chair and look in the mirror, and they want the hair to look good. So most people didn't used to care about what is going into their hair, how they should take care of their hair for the 29 days you don't see them, until the one day they come in month. So I think that most of the work was in educating really the clients to say, why are you putting wax in your hair? That thing is only going to solidify. Your hair is going to be hard, like kakaraka, like cement in the end. I've experienced it because some locticians or some lock stylists or lock whatever used wax in my hair at some point. So now that a lot of that, at least most people, or a lot of people I'm personally seeing, at least are coming with some basic knowledge. And when you explain some things, and maybe because they're also starting, because I think in the beginning of my business, I was winning some customers that already had stylists. So I had to be, there was a lot of education going on at that point. So a lot of the new clients are people who are just starting from the get-go. Now, I think the education is really about these types of methods of locks, and the rave is instant locks. Everybody wants to sit down in your chair and live with locks. If someone wants to call you with relaxed hair and live with locks. What is your take on instant locks?
It's a blessing and a curse.
Well said. Well said.
Okay. So just this morning, my morning client today, I used instant locks on her hair, and the basic reason I used it was because she's based in Finland, so she handles her hair herself, and so she's in my seat, and she has this long length of new growth that I know that palm rolling, because she's just left her hair for a long while, she's not done anything, so I know that palm rolling will just frustrate the hair, and so I told her, look, I know you usually do palm rolling, but I'm going to have to use instant lock, which is also known as the crochet method. I'm going to use this on your hair, and this is the reason I'm using this, and this is how your hair would feel as compared to how you're used to it feeling. Instant lock is a blessing, because the honest truth is, it's the technique I use on my own locks. I have used instant locks on my locks for a year and a half now, and it became more useful to me, more relevant, or more suitable for my hair, because I merged my locks to make them bigger. So with them being bigger, the honest truth is that palm rolling would try your patience if you have bigger locks. So I just had to give up on palm rolling and went on to instant locks, and I'm loving it. But unfortunately, instant locks is like every other technique. It would work for some people, it would not work for the others. But I would not want anyone going for instant lock, because you just don't want to. Everybody wants to escape the in quotes ugly stage, as they say it. They don't want to go through the body. They don't want to go through the process. They just want to just jump. They want to be a baby today, and tomorrow they are driving a Lexus. They want to drive. They want to do it. And I need them to. Education is key in anything you're having to apply to anybody, be technique or whatever. I would let anybody that is, because I have people that just want to just start off instant lock, and I don't budge, especially if their hair is good. They have the length to go. Because instant lock has a way of stealing length. You're fast tracking the process. What palm rolling would achieve in 1 year, you're going to achieve it in a month. So it has its back draws, especially if you're not somebody. Okay, if you're someone like not so patient, no problem. But what will happen thereafter? Because it's one thing starting, there's a locking technique, there's a maintenance technique. What happens after? I've had people that have done instant locks on, and they come later and say, no, I think I want to revert to palm rolling, and I'll say, why? They say, they don't like how stiff it feels. And instant lock has that stiffness attached to it, because it's man-made. We're trying to force the process to happen overnight. So you're either doing too much or you're doing too little. So unlike palm rolling that just goes through the process, your hair is just doing its thing. Instant lock, we are telling you this is how we want you to stay here. It doesn't allow for that flexibility. It doesn't allow for that flexibility palm rolling will give you. I would say, look, if you're one, I'm not keen on styling. I don't style my locks. I love dropping down worst case scenario, I do a tuck in or something. I've recently cut my locks very short, but then I'm not keen on styling. So I'm telling you, if you're keen on styling, please, instant lock will not allow that flexibility that palm rolling will give. So don't, if you're keen on it, don't do that. But if I have clients that just want to drop their hair, just go for instant lock, no problem, because it adds a bulk to your locks. It adds a certain bulk. The wideness you have, the diameter you would have with palm rolling, instant lock will make it bigger and more dense within the matrix of the lock. So instant lock is a cost when you start it off with the wrongest length of your hair is too short. I understand. Unless you're one person that just wants to stand in. There's a technique to having, because most times you see instant lock, even if you're just standing like I see, like we're just standing, because of how it gives a firmness to the base that doesn't allow for flexibility to lie. But then there's a technique to letting it lie. Most people do find it bottom. I find it very outrageous, but it's their call. Instant lock is good if you're one person that doesn't. I think it should be much more than. It should be much more than that, because it has its own drawbacks. You can't style as you want. You have that thickness that doesn't allow for flexibility. But the beautiful thing, like to do, it doesn't get to unravel. That's what you see. Everyone that goes for locks, I don't know why they go for locks, but I don't want it to unravel, so they go for instant locks. Because once it's done well, I mean, you go into water, unless you go and you actually use a detangling substance, it will not budge. It will not. It doesn't mean it's mature, but it just wouldn't unravel. So everyone is going for instant lock. But the question is, how many people are doing dry? But it's another technique that can bring massive hair loss if not done properly to someone's locks journey. Because if you're doing the pressure in pulling, you're going to break the hair. If you're missing out a space, you're going to create a gap that never gets locked. I mean, there's so much. You just have to knowing the right hair texture to apply it, and sections too to apply it, and then well, good. But to each his own. Right?
Yeah. So I actually personally don't favor the method. I love the technique in repairing locks. I think it's a very useful technique for repairing locks. But sometimes you kind of have to. I've learned a lot in the business to be able to listen to my clients, because whilst I don't favor the method personally, it doesn't mean that it is not useful to somebody else. And I think one of the drawbacks for me in the method, you have mentioned it as a blessing and a curse, and I feel like you've rightly said that. I think that's a very good way to say it, because there's the benefit of jumping a few steps ahead. And then there's some of us, I don't know, maybe because we went through the process, I almost feel like even if I were to cut my hair to an afro and start all over again, I would personally not mind experiencing the unraveling of my palm rolling and having it, I feel like that is the experience of locks. And you kind of cheat yourself. So I'm just stating the reasons why I don't necessarily favor instant locks. I feel like you cheat yourself.
But then again, for me, I mean, I've been almost 15 years locked. I've been through the process. So, I mean, big opting for it right now.
It's a necessity, because I know you rightly said that your bigger locks are obviously easier to manage with the instant locks, which makes a lot of sense. I think the technique is fantastic for lock repair. And I haven't really practiced this technique so much. I'm looking forward to using it as much as I can. But the one thing that bothers me about it, because you said any method as well, actually, if somebody should palm roll your hair too tightly, even if as simple as palm rolling is, it can cause you serious damage and headaches.
Exactly.
So if you don't do it right, there'll be a repercussion to it. But my ponder about the instant locks is when you have the crochet hook, because that's what it literally is. You're using the crochet hook and you're literally matting the hair together by yourself. Our hair is in such a way that they are fine strands. I wonder, this is more of a question than a critic even. And this is just something I really wonder. Now, when you are tugging that hair back and forth, what are the chances that you are breaking those hair strands? and you're literally just now taking hair that was supposedly healthy, that could have been down the body of a locks, and you're just cutting them into small hairs and tucking it together, and thereby decreasing the integrity of the structure of your hair itself, and not just carrying. It's like you're carrying your hair, but you're almost carrying it as extensions. This is a wonder for me. And since I haven't used the method that often, I'm wondering if you can shed some light on your experience based off of what I'm saying.
Okay. Now, I use instant locks on clients, and I use on my own locks. So I think I can have, and I'm on a good standing to state. I mean, answer your question. It goes back to me saying it's about you knowing how to use the skill properly. You're using a micro needle, right? It's 0.5 mm, 0.6 mm micro needle, which most of us most people call it a knitting pin. But now it's much more tinier. And the whole reason why that size is permissible, because it talks it's able to hold on to the individual strands and pull them within themselves in the inner matrix to form a lock. It's like you're creating a tangle. You're gently pulling it. You see, most time you see a lot of things being done on Instagram. You're just saying chap, chap, chap. And when you hear those sounds, you're like, oh my gosh, this hair is all gone. But guess what? The reason why that is happening is not necessarily that the hair is being cut off, but that, for one, instant lock is best done on dry hair, which is also a danger, because most times you're expected to manipulate your hair while damp, not dry. So if somebody is so careless enough not to understand that, they break the hair. And without it, in fact, I haven't had any experience of hair loss, because I mean, I've worked on my hair. I still have the same even structure, and everything. Where you would experience a possibly loss and it will be so evident is when you see a thinning along the shaft of the lock, if it's not done well. Because it's not, as I said, you're pulling the strands in within themselves. You're not just cutting it and bringing it out to the other side and pulling. Because we are trying to work with these strands like threads, and we are pulling it in. If you don't understand that you're pulling it in and not necessarily pulling it out to the other side, you might find yourself breaking hair. It can happen. But even if this is not to say there won't be, most times I'm done with crocheting and I see little strands of hair on the floor. I'm not bothered about that. Why? Because it's already been said that we lose 100 strands of hair a day, right? We lose 100 strands of hair a day. So I'm looking at it that, okay, this is, when I palm roll, some hair will shed. It's not necessarily that it's because of the instant lock that the hair is all cutting. I'm not out to cut. But I have witnessed people that claim they've been to the loctician that instant locked their hair, and they come to my hair and like, what was done? But you see breakage everywhere. You just see hair splits, you see. There's nothing has been done. Because this will go to YouTube and just them putting the pin and bring that chomp, chomp, chomp. They don't understand what is trying to be achieved. And that's where the damage happens. Everything goes wrong when it's not done right. Instant loss, even if it were even palm rolling, as you rightly said, hair loss can occur if it's not done properly. It's just people understanding. Everybody is instant locking now. The pin is everywhere. Everybody, I mean, it's amazing. But, well, everyone would, sometimes the experience will be the best teacher. Unfortunately, it's also a late teacher. Everyone is instant locking. Everybody wants to rush the process. And then there are people, just because of terminologies, people are mixing up what they're actually doing. People go in and say, okay, I want I'm not telling somebody say interlocking is instant lock. I say, okay, I don't want to work with. Sometimes it's quite confusing using terminologies to define what you want, because I find that most people have an idea. Some people contact me and say, I want to crochet. I say, okay, what technique have you been using so far? And they say, I've been crocheting. And my own idea of crocheting is that it's the instant lock. But then again, it turns out that it's interlocking, because most times it's always interlocking, but they're actually using a crochet latch hook. And I'm like, okay, so we're now getting it. What you haven't done is interlock. Say, oh, okay. So terminology just gets people confused, but the practitioners themselves should be able to discern the differences. And then, if they cannot, there's nothing wrong in saying, I can't offer this service. I don't know how to do it. before I started interlocking, I would say I don't know how to interlock. I don't know interlock until I understood
Until you learned how to do it. Yeah.
I understood it and I was able to apply it and then discern when not to use it and when to use it. Prior to that time I thought, but everybody is, I can do it. Watch a few videos on YouTube, they are doing the pin in and out, pin and out. They don't understand what they are trying to achieve, and that's where the damage comes in. Other than that, I think on its own, it's not necessarily a hair damaging technique unless done wrongly.
Okay, now since we're talking about the rave of the times, I think the latest thing is also there's a question I get a lot. You know the funny thing? Yes, you are very right. There's a lady who came into the salon. She had retouched her hair like the day before, and she came into the salon and said she wants to lock her hair, and I was like, okay, you're going to need about a year because you look like you just retouched your hair yesterday. She's like, yes. And then she was like, yeah, but I want this style. And she goes on our Instagram page and she points out a style to me. And I painstakingly had to explain to her that hair was that person's hair. And that for you to get that style, we first have to grow your hair, lock your hair. You have to do the work, then we can style your hair that way. And she accused me of false advertising. She said that why did I put it on my Instagram page if I could not do it? But she could hardly understand what I was even talking about. But yes, lock extensions is now what everybody's doing. And there's a very popular person on Instagram who has been doing like miracle, very realistic lock extensions. And then, I see these things and they are beautiful. And sometimes I wonder personally that am I just being kumbaya, trying to be old school? Am I not moving with the times and not necessarily embracing this thing for what it is? And I have a perspective. Let me write it down. So I want you to share your own perspective on this issue, and then I'm going to speak to some of my feelings, personal feelings about what extensions mean. So please go ahead. What do you think about lock extensions?
Right, so, look, Ade, the honest truth is that everyone is into this hair industry, locks industry, anyhow, for various reasons. Mm-hmm. Some people are just into cash out, right? Mm-hmm. And the honest truth is that, I don't know, I'm in business to be sustainable, to be there for the long haul. I'm not in business just to be a one-time wonder and go off. And that's what social media is doing to people. They are giving people what they want. They are seeing it and they're and you can't be anything but yourself. And it's safer being yourself. You don't agree with something. There's nothing wrong with it. I personally, you see lock extensions, I run away from them. Because I, for one, think, okay, yeah, they claim they want lock extension to add length, or they want to instantly start styling their hair. I'm like, what? Why are you having locks and you think locks just about styling? It's always about that added length to draw, so they can, when they swing their head to the left and to the right, the wind goes and all that. I'm like, okay. So everyone is giving everybody what they want. But how sustainable is this thing you're doing? For one, they call it human hair extension. We're not going to talk about, we have this one of people that cut their locks in 1925 and they want to attach it in 2021. Mm-hmm. That's on its own. No. I have an opinion on that one.
Okay.
I have an opinion on that one. Let's do that one after. Let's talk about these lock extensions. Fine. People opted for lock extension, as an alternative to having to buy. They buy locks. You cut your locks, you sell it. People buy. There was a time when in South Africa, they were raiding people. They were harming people to cut their locks. They were stealing locks because it was like a black market. It wasn't a black market. It was hot on the foreign exchange. People were buying it. So when lock extensions were introduced, people were excited about it because one, it doesn't belong to anybody. So if they say, suppose if you carry this person's locks and put on your head, your destiny will change. So lock extensions were like, utopia, let's do this. Oh, we can actually have our own. We can have it all big thing. Anyhow, we can just say we want it this one, and it's done. But guess what? No matter how these lock extensions are, and no matter how it's that human lock extension, it's not hair. It's not hair. And the only good thing it has over locks that have been cut off is how long longevity. It lasts longer than naturally cut locks because it's been chemically treated, it's been altered somehow. Mm-hmm. But the weight is something else. I'm yet to see come with lock extension, and I'm like, wow, I couldn't even tell the difference between your hair and the lock extension. I've not seen it. Even the ones they show on the internet, I can see spots, the difference. But who cares? I'm looking at the weight. Lock extension, I won't stop you from having lock extensions if you have grown your own natural locks to a certain, to maturity, right? And when I say maturity, I'm talking about 24 months. Now, because at that 18 to 24 months, your locks have gotten definition in terms of size and everything. It is compressed, it has condensed as much, all that, it's gotten this structure. So you can now actually, if someone is expert enough to do the lock extensions properly, you have now, you can create the locks to match that matured locks you have grown. But you see people now, they are starting hair. My hair, they don't start locks today, and I'm crying out loud. How do you give a child a bucket of water to carry, a baby a bucket of water to carry? It's not done. For one, look, there's so much English on the internet, fat, the log ratio, and I'm looking for crying out loud. Let's give ourselves a break. We start these locks not necessarily knowing how it's going to end up. That is the honest truth. No matter how expert you are, you cannot say that this section of locks with these dimensions will give this particular size of locks. You can't say that. You can just hope for the best and so let's work safely. This could be like this. But you have people from the day one, they do a section, okay, half by half. Then that's okay, they do some calculations. Okay, this is the size of locks we put on this lock. And at the end of the day, you find out that the locks
are too heavy for the strand.
It's bigger, it doesn't grow. I mean, it's just there. Sometimes it might not even, if it's not reinforced properly as the client goes on, it might actually fall off. Somebody came to my salon and she has this lock extension. She started her lock. She was coming for her second session and she couldn't go to her loctician in Ikeja. So she came to me and she called me and I was like, okay, I don't know. Let me see how I can fit you in. She came and I didn't know she had extension. And when she came, I saw this lady, her hair was like baby soft. Yeah. It was low density. And I'm like, if you saw the weight, the locks that were put on her head in terms of extensions. And 5 of them have fallen off. Then the others were hanging on to dear life. They were just holding on a strand of, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't handle your hair. She was like, why now? You are spoken highly of. I'm saying, I'm sorry. You need to go to who installed this to continue. Because I don't carry anybody's wahala. Because I saw the problem. I saw the trouble. She said, what happened? And I said, your hair can't carry the weight of this extension. Why did you start the extension? And the loctician said that it will help my hair. Help your hair out. See, logically, a baby crawling will not drive it. I mean, these things can't carry this weight. Why? Your hair is falling off. And I had to show her pictures of locks that had cultivated, starting with like almost like soft baby hair that didn't have that kind of density. And then, boom, the hair blossomed in a year to a year and a half. And she was like, wow, so my hair could become. I said, yes.
Yeah.
With the right nurture, with the right people. You don't need this. She said, okay, well, I'm here. You have to do something. I said, look, I'm doing this. It's full knowledge that you know that this is what I've said. So tomorrow you won't call me out and say, I touched your hair, the hair falling off. It's not me that did this here. So I'm like, I wasn't comfortable with it. But she actually wouldn't have this fit to her husband. Nobody said, madam, anything you can do for her, do for her. And I retwisted her. And then they interlocked the roots.
Oh my God. So that made it even worse. It would have been better if they used instant locks or even palm rolled it.
All the way and palm rolled the roots. They interlocked it. In fact, it was a nightmare to see. I was like, the next thing, a week after, she said, madam, I want to take this all down. I said, say yes. I said, then you have to, I won't do that. She said, no, you have to help. I don't want to just cut off the lock because I know how much and these things are not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
They're not cheap. I know how much I spent on this section. I intend to keep them. I said, madam, there's no section of hair you cut unless you want just 20 locks on your head that would match up with that extension. Don't bother. Trash it.
Yeah.
She showed me a picture of her hair. Low cut. She had colored her hair. She had low cut. She had to make myself happy. Locks didn't work out for me. Let me go the other. I said, okay, you have your piece. So there's so much wrong misinformation. Everybody just wants to do the woke thing in quotes. We're on the level. We are doing this. But I'm crying out. It doesn't make sense. In the long run, does it make sense? So people, the locticians at fault. Everybody doing lock extensions. They'll say, oh, this one, they'll call it a name. And everybody is speaking one jargon over the thing to make it look so special. There's nothing special about it. And I'm like, okay, but I don't offer the service. I don't do it. And that's it. There's
here's what I think. I completely agree with everything you said. when it comes to lock extensions. And I feel like personally, this is an issue that plays a lot in my mind. I speak within my smaller circles, but I think this is a good opportunity to put it out there. I feel that as Nigerians, most of our problems are that we don't look inwards. And with the natural hair movement, it almost seems like we're beginning to look inwards. Because if you have the price or the amount of money that we spend as a whole, as a country, in extensions, both the attachments and extensions and weaves and all of that, it is ridiculous. If all of that money, if all of that money is invested into our lives, ourselves, our environment, our own ecosystem, it will be more fruitful. And to think that all of this money is going out, and in a way, nobody really makes the connection that when you buy Brazilian hair, you have enriched Brazil. When you buy Indian hair, you have enriched India. When you buy any other type of hair, you are most probably enriching China. When you choose to have your own hair, you are saving that money to enrich Nigeria. Simple and short.
But then they are just tapping into the vanity of women. It's just vanity.
So I feel like there's another angle, and there's another that for me, I feel that should be a personal interest for why you should want to really keep your hair natural when it is natural, and let's stop misusing our money. So that's the first thing. And there is some benefits. I don't think there's anybody who has grown their hair, their locks from when it was, even if it was long, loose, natural hair, that have watched their hair cultivate, that can't tell you one or two things that they discovered about themselves, their nature, their ability to be patient. So there's so much value that comes from something that is so insignificant. So before we start looking for things that are too long, from short to long in 10 seconds, from loose hair to instant in 2 seconds, before we start looking for all these shortcuts, can we just step back and just kind of take it to a little bit of a deeper level? I feel I really do not like conflicts, controversy, and I feel like my producer had said that I had not been asking some questions, so I'm bringing up some issues the way I really feel them and trying to be a bit more opinionated about the things that I feel. And so I really feel like this is an opportunity. If you can watch your own hair grow, you are most likely going to be able to grow something else in your life with more dedication that would produce more fruits. I just feel there's a connection there, and I feel like we shouldn't miss it in the bid of just trying to change our hair. Like most people who are spending all this money on all sorts of extensions don't even have it.
Okay, so let me interject. You see, basically, I always encourage my clients that they should keep pictures of their locks journey from start to where they're going. Honestly, most times when a client gets to a year anniversary, I'm like, wow, your year anniversary, your year old in the locks journey. This is where what your locks look like when you started, and this is where you're at now. She's like, wow, how did I get here? And they will say if locks don't teach you patience, although now I know plants have to teach you. But they say if locks doesn't teach you patience, no, nothing else will. They say if trust a woman with locks because she knows how to be loyal. I would say having locks is like a relationship, because your locks is one part of your body that will tell you about different times of your life. As in, I don't know how. Let me how to say it. Okay, for instance, I can see a lock, just a single lock of mine, and I can say, oh, this is when I had my baby. Because it was thinner at that spot when I had hair, postpartum hair loss. Oh, this is when I was so stressed because there was hair loss. And this is when my hair was, I was relaxed. My hair is, your lock, I could see a lock and say, oh, you actually have had 3 people handle your hair. Because I'm seeing different, I can tell a story.
Yep.
Just looking at a lock.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth. And I am that deep. So, and people are like, oh, how do I say, look, I can see a change here. This person, so there's a story to tell with your lock. If you're paying attention, I'll tell you that your lock tells you stuff. But most of us are in a hurry. If you use something today and you think, oh, it's not working, toss it. I said, look, give it time. You have to observe and say, oh, how did your locks take it? You applied, how did it react? And okay, it wasn't good. You don't just treat. That's why you call it a hairstyle. I said that this is a hairstyle. Who think it's sweating? Saying you just spray it up. You don't care. It's just, but the locks will tell you when you are doing something wrong, when it's not happy. I don't care whether they say it's dead hair or that dead hair. I think your hair is not dead on the
It's not dead. It's actually not dead. Let's not deceive ourselves.
I would say it's not dead until it's come off of your head.
It's not dead.
Once it's on your head, it's not dead.
You can still nourish it, groom it. It's not dead. Okay, so believe it or not, we've almost spoken for about 45 minutes. And I usually, yes. You know, the irony of this whole thing is when I decided to do the Meet the Expert series, I was like, my previous season was too long. I'm going to try and do this in 30 minutes. But trust me, everybody I've spoken to. So I've stopped fighting that battle. There's one big topic that I want us to discuss before we round up, and that is color. Yes. So I can hear some resistance in that. Yeah. Okay, so let me go first with this one. Let me actually go first.
Okay.
So I advise all my clients, I was like, you have to choose. If you want long locks, don't bother with the color. If you know that vibrant, colorful hair is more important to you than length, then go with the color, because eventually that hair is going to break. It is already like damaged from the point you color it. So be prepared to lose it, no matter how you condition it. Of course, the more diligent you are when you choose to color your hair and you're diligent about moisturizing it, the longer you'll be able to hold on to it. But the truth is, from personal experience, and this is funny, and I think, you kind of have to learn things. And thank you to all the lock stylists out there that touched my hair before I started my business, because they showed me all the things that I didn't want, and all the questions that I had hoped they would have answered are the questions I tried to answer for my clients today, and all the things that I hope that you were telling me. Even if we had agreed to put coffee and toothpaste in my hair, I would have appreciated that you told it to me first, so that by the time my pillowcase is staining, I would know. So I'm happy. So the first time I bleached my hair before I started my business, and I wanted color in my hair, but I interestingly didn't want it everywhere. I didn't want the gold tips. I just wanted light brown random strands, which is what I did, and it came out well. It looked beautiful, but like a year into having the color, I noticed that the ones specifically that were colored had started to become damaged. They were weak. They were chopping off. They felt different from the ones that had not been colored. And that's when I started to feel like, oh, it is like this color has something to do with what is happening with my hair. And then in practicing, I have seen it over and over again that you have to forfeit something, when you choose to color your hair. And you kind of have to, first of all, make that choice. You can't eat your cake and have it. So you know what you're going for, and be prepared more than anything else to take care of your hair more, especially after you've put in the color in it. So that's my take on color. So Chiaka, what's yours?
Everyone, my followers, my clients, you know me that I'm totally anti-color, how you want to call it, I'm against it in all my whole. But this does not mean that I'm one. I try to discourage as many people as I can to not color their locks. But then I get to meet people that say, come, color gives me life. Color makes me wake up every morning and say, wow, I look good. And I'm saying, okay, no problem. Your own is to color your hair, and my own is to take care of it as long as I can until it dies. But then again, because the honest truth is that I've tried a number of times to try and I've gone for a training, I've done a lot of research, trying to understand why I should color locks. Because I'm that kind of person that wants to respond. I want to be able to say something and stand by it. And I want to be able to take up anything that comes with it. I can deal with it. But color, it never gel with me. It has not sunk with my spirit. But then again, it doesn't stop anybody from coloring their hair. But as you have already rightly said, they should understand the repercussions, and they should be ready to say, oh, it's time, you are dying, no problem, we'll give you a fitting very well and we move on. But then again, there's always a safer way to doing something bad. There's always a safer way. And most times I'm thinking, okay, you want to color your hair. There are people that contact me and they want to just start off their locks journey. And I ask, do you see color in your future? Do you think you would want to color your hair at some point in time? And they were like, yeah, maybe the team think of going. I said, okay, this is what would happen. Because if you're that kind of person that want to start off your hair with color, I'll say color your hair first before you lock your hair. It's safer to color your hair before, because then you're dealing with individual strands that can easily have the chemical washed off. But when your hair is locked, now it's an intertwined strand, composition of strands that form locks, and then you put in all these chemicals. The honest truth is that I'm yet to see that person that will take enough time to wash that color thing when it's done its work out of your locks completely. And that's where the problem starts, because if it is not washed out properly, no matter the tiny bit of color residue, whatever that is left in there, it starts corroding. It starts corroding your hair from within. And then most people, they have this, now when I see people applying color and they are really squeezing the color into the lock, please, why do they do that? Do the surface. Apply whatever is on the surface. It doesn't have to go inside. Once the surface is covered, you're good. But you see them squeezing it, and that is where the problem is, because you're squeezing it out, but when you wash it all out, the little less residue you leave in there will start corroding and break the hair. Now, we have people that will say, okay, I want to color just my tips. You color your tips, no problem. But guess what? It starts breaking up. It's not necessarily the color, but remember, your tips are the oldest part of your locks. They don't have the strength as your roots then. So they would definitely, and they are very fragile. So they would, when they start falling off, not necessarily the color that's making it to fall off. It's just that it's the oldest part of your hair is bound to fall off. So no problem. Color has never been for anybody that is lazy. Yes, we know the hair, when we've colored it, we bleached it, you have killed the hair. The cuticle is completely gone. There's no, all you just want to do is just be patting it, oh, don't worry, all will be all right, until it finally dies. But then you cannot go into coloring your hair or dyeing your hair when you are too lazy to maintain it. And maintaining is not that we're telling that you're maintaining that you live a happily ever after. It will eventually break off. But while let it be healthy, and because coloring alone has disturbed your hair composition, your cuticle is damaged, all the cuticles are opened up. You become highly porous. Highly porous means that your cuticles are lifted up, and then you lose moisture so fast. You cannot hold on to moisture. You lose it. So that means you have to keep on infusing moisture into it. Then you have to do protein treatments, because protein is out to close the cuticle, all those spaces that have been created that have been caused by the damage of the chemicals. The protein treatment will just seal it up as much as it can and be carrying it along the way. People will not do that. They will just leave the hand falling off. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. That is my thing.
Right.
It's not. I personally see lots of color. I see colors. Wow, nice. That's what I for. But I have colored my locks and I've experienced it. I just did my teeth and I said no, I will not do it again. And then we have this thing of wrong practices. You are bleaching hair. Fine, bleaching. The whole purpose of bleaching is to lift your color, to lighten your color, because any other color you want. The natural color of your hair, you want to lighten it. Yes, you want to just lighten it, because that's the only way any other color can sit in, because your hair is dark. Red will not show in your black hair. So you're going to bleach it to make it lighter. But guess what? There are different levels of lightening your hair has to go through to accept certain colors. Our people, they will bleach the hair white, it will turn, and it is not necessary. It's just a little. Sometimes most people just do try a luck with this, because that's how you refuse to enter. That's if I don't understand this thing well, I don't go enter. So you see people, they don't apply the sharp, they bleach their, but they don't understand what they are trying to achieve. There are different levels of lifting that has to go on to be able to, and then you can. So I've seen people that have bleached their hair perfectly well, and they had minimal damage. They see, because if you over bleach your hair, you lose the elasticity. Your hair kind of straightens out. You lose your hair just becomes like. You lose your elasticity. Everything is just dead hair. It's over dead now.
Right.
It's like delicate, mildly, and they still have the spring to their hair. The hair is still healthy, and they move on. And then people have the mistake of you've bleached your hair, you go and bleach it again. Oh my goodness gracious! Because the honest truth is that once you've bleached your hair once time, it's just like you haven't permed your hair. In those days when you carry a relaxer all the way through, for what? I mean, once hair is permed, it's permed forever. It cannot be unpermed. So all you need to do is concentrate on the new roots that are virgin. You perm it the same way with bleaching. You can't go and be reapplying bleach to where you've bleached. It's been bleached, it's bleached.
Right.
And then you concentrate on the roots. But you see people overdoing these things, and that's where the more damage comes in. So color, if you can do the crime, the time you do the crime, no problem. And of course, as you have said, if you've accepted that, I would love it as long as it lasts, then all well and good.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Chiaka, thank you so much. I think this conversation has been all-encompassing. I know that if they gave us another 6 hours, we will continue. We will continue. But I think we have touched on some very important topics. How to try and choose a loctician that understands locks to be able to start your hair, the different types of locks that they are, the methods that we prefer over each other. We've discussed instant locks, we've discussed lock extensions, and it's been an interesting conversation so far. And I think just like with the other experts I have spoken to, which their episodes will come out before this one, there is a real drive to say you've got to do the work. If you want good hair, you have to do the work. Do your own research. Find people that work with you, that understand what you're saying. I think the what I tell my clients, or what I always tell people, even if it's just a hairdresser, not loctician or anybody, once that person tells you, don't worry. If they're answering your question with the words "don't worry," you should be very worried. If your stylist says,
"I trust the process," you missed out on the say trust the process. Trust the process.
No, explain the process first, then we can trust it.
Exactly. So we can trust it.
So you have to kind of do the time, do your own homework, and you will have long, luscious locks. Patience is also something that's very, very, very key. And if you're going to color it, I love your statement. I'm going to borrow it and steal it. So if you're going to do the time, if you're willing to do the time, then do the crime. So I think we've covered a lot. I hope that there's going to be another opportunity for us to collaborate in this industry. And, I enjoy the work that you do on Instagram. I love the patience that you have. I love the word that you put out there. I love it when there are some times where I've seen a video that is completely ridiculous, and like maybe 1 hour later I see it on your feed and I was like, oh yes, thank you. Please talk about it, because I can't even deal. I can't deal with that. So there are so many other issues that we could have talked on. Wrong way of interlocking. That one icks me to my stomach.
There's also something else that I was hoping would have spoken on.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, in terms of investments, in terms of naira and kobo in your hair, in your lock, most people don't think. Because everyone that holds a crochet pin is called a loctician. Everyone thinks that I shouldn't spend this much on my hair, and I'm thinking you're able to spend so much money on Brazilian wigs. Why do you find it difficult spending money on something that is so long term as locks? It irks me because I don't get it. And I'm not necessarily saying that because you're paying. I've had experiences of clients that spent good naira in a supposedly good salon and still had their hair messed up.
Yeah.
It's not the money, as I would say. If you're talking to somebody that actually knows what they're doing, you will know. And when the person puts the price to it, I'm always encouraging people pay this person, and then you have that peace. But most times you have people that are penny wise, pound foolish. They go round and round looking for. They say it's not just locks, not just this, and they go. I have chats on my WhatsApp that stems back to 5 years ago, 4 years ago. I keep my chats because that's my way of keeping track on people. Because I'm always this confident that once one person has contacted me, the person is surely going to come back one way or the other. And then you have people that have contacted me 3 years ago. They wanted to start their locks, and when I told them how much it cost, they were like, "Oh wow, you're too pricey." And then they leave. Guess what? They come back 3 years after. "Oh, I saw you on Instagram. My hair is so damaged. I want to repair." And I'm like, Ireti, are you here? Hello. You know me. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I said, yeah, we spoke 3 years ago. So finally you went to where they butchered your hair. You're back. Welcome home. So what can I do for you? And then you find yourself spending what you ought to have not spent. You have people that go to salons every month. And then they come to me and I'm telling them, you don't need to come every month. You're coming, I'm putting you on this 3 months, 2 months, especially when it has to do with the interlocking technique. And I'm saving them money. When they calculate how much they would have spent if you are going every month, I'm like, people should wise up on spending money on their locks. They should wise up. Because no good lock service should be cheap in my opinion, because it takes time and a lot of dexterity. You cannot just begin to just overlook so many things if you are offering a good lock service. So it should be paid for. It's just on the side of the wall that anything to do with hands is cheap. they think it's cheap because everybody is doing it. I'm like, gosh, thank God I have borrowed sense to identify who my ideal clients are. I'm not out to have everybody make me feel like, oh, I know the value I'm bringing to the table. So if you're not able to pay for it, and I'm sure that's the same for you, you know what you have to offer. Give me the naira equivalent, and you'll be happy, you'll be at peace. So people, get to invest in the right way on your locks. It will pay off dividends, a lot of dividends.
Yes, and it's crazy because just speaking on that, prices have to go up. Inflation is crazy.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, we are not producing a lot of our raw materials, or even the ingredients that we use or the finished products that we use are imported.
Yeah.
And every day the exchange rate keeps going up. So at the end of the day, I think maybe we should all save the money, leave the lock extensions alone. leave the what's the other one? Leave the wig alone and leave all of that alone. Let's put the money back into where it belongs. So at least we have less and less need for importing things that we don't really need. So yes, I completely agree with you. Don't be penny wise, pound foolish. I personally can fall into that risk. I'm a little bit of an alarm myself, this personally speaking. So usually I'm always like, how much is it? I'm going to say, let me just do it. No. But sometimes you have to kind of, if you're going to enjoy the service, you'll be able to. And yes, I also agree with you on the point where, you tell people that you're coming too often. Sometimes I have some clients who work in a bank who are very conscious about their hair and their look, and they want to come to you every week or every 2 weeks. And I'm like, your hair will not be, there'll be no hair left at the end of this journey. Please, maximum once a month. And even in the once a month, my average preaching of once a month is because people can be very careless not to wash their hair on them by themselves. So at least you should wash your hair at least once a month. At least wash it. So if that's what requires that you come to the salon, and I completely agree, depending on the method you are using, you don't need to come. And like I said earlier in the conversation, if you want to freeform, don't even come at all. So,
sometimes I just like their mothers, but I tell them stay here. Some people tell me, in fact, Jack, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's a marriage we're in. Sometimes I feel like you're my mother. I said, I have to be friend with you because I'm invested in this thing. I get to benefit from your success. So don't mess it up for me.
Chiaka. No, go ahead. I just remembered that we actually didn't talk about products. So I'm going to keep you on for 10 more minutes. Because I think there's no way I can
let's do the products thing.
So I know
that is key. Everyone is about products.
Products. I do have a product manufacturer who is a certified chemist who we spoke to on the podcast that kind of addresses it from a scientific point of view. But I do know that I'm sure you also get the same questions. My locks are not growing. What can I use? I think another thing is there's a lot of itchy scalp problems that people tend to have, and sometimes they feel like it's their locks that are causing it. There's all sorts of things. But in terms of product, let's maybe start from the basic one, because somebody put wax and toothpaste in my hair, or toothpaste and coffee in my hair because they believed that was going to lock my hair. Do you think that product lock the hair?
I always have this mantra. I say techniques and products. Techniques put your hair in the right position to lock, and products put your hair in the right condition to lock. None of these things are actually the ones responsible for locking your hair. Neither the techniques nor the products. So the earlier people understand that, the more peace they will get. And I have preached this to my clients, and they have peace with it, and they can actually see that it is the truth. Everyone is fretting because of lack of understanding. If you understand the nature of hair itself, nature of scalp, skin, you will, and then how it reacts to the environment, it reacts to your hormones. So many things come to play to why you are having certain conditions with your locks. You don't want I want my locks to grow, and I'm asking Auntie, how normally before you started these locks, what was your growth pattern? I mean, if you don't have, everyone grows as an averagely half an inch of new growth every month. Averagely, that means you could actually be below average or higher average. And then you come and tell my hair is not. I'm looking at this is how many months ago, for crying out loud. So your pattern is your pattern, your hair growth, and then we forget that this hair growth goes through a cycle of growth stage, rest stage, all that, and what they call it, shed stage. If you don't have an understanding of that, because there's going to be a time that it's as soon as your hair is not growing, you don't like that at its rest stage. That's our part. Your scalp, you say, okay, the products, I want the hair to stay. I mean, that's what everyone goes for. Once they just say tight hold, extra tight hold. Oh my goodness, that market is selling. Firm hold. Once they see hold, firming, they're all for it. And I'm thinking, do you really think you're just creating barrier? Because this hair that you're trying to lock, as we all know, even if you don't comb, it's not me. I've come to the understand. It's not even necessarily that it's when you don't comb your hair will lock. Because I can't people that have had their locks, their hair for 1 year they didn't lock their hair, and their hair didn't lock. It was, I mean, I don't believe in that philosophy that when you don't comb your hair. Partially it's true, but then again, you have these products applied to your hair. It creates a barrier. For crying out loud, you're a human being. Imagine you having to wear 3 layers of shirts, and the weather is hot. You would throw them all out because you need to breathe. You need to have choked up. It's the same thing with your hair. Why would you want to layer? Your hair needs to interact with the environment. Locking process also has to do with the environment. Your hair interacting with the environment, with everything you do. It has to smell the fresh air. These products are creating layers. And then if they're now washed off, products that are not water soluble. Water soluble is that they are lightweight. They can easily be washed off. Then there's a problem. But then most of these products that are so-called Locks products, they tend to be they are synthetic. And anything that's synthetic cannot necessarily wash off because they are made from the same things that they use. I mean, I'm not a chemist, so no one should quote me, but this is my own understanding. The same things that I use to make your basic plastic materials, but it's just a minute version of version of it, is what is used for the synthetic product. They do not wash off. If you take a plastic and burn it, it will never just dissolve or evaporate. There will be something left there. It's the same thing with these products. They just create a barrier. Your hair is not breathing. Your hair is not taking in moisture. And then you say your hair is breaking. Why won't it break? There's a barrier that is stopping moisture from entering. And then we're not even going to your porosity. Your porosity alone is a determinant of how well your hair will take in moisture. Then you're not going to put product on top. Imagine somebody with low porosity. Low porosity that your cuticles are flat or tightly put together. That means they don't take in water easily. And if water cannot enter your hair, which product wants to enter that hair? So by looking at these things, you've not considered your body, you're not putting products you are creating. This hair needs to be lightweight, it needs to breathe. So those products are not necessary. And as I said, products don't lock your hair. They just put it in the right condition to lock. And what's the condition for your hair to lock? It should be clean. It should be moisturized. And then you're good. This hair, I don't just need to do wash and setting. If we go on the palm rolling level, because it's always the palm rolling people that have issues of I want that hold my hair in place for long. I'm telling these people, when we did wash and set, remember, we'll roll the hair, it's wet. We'll now roll it, we'll put it under heat, and it holds. Yes, we put some product on it to firm, but it shouldn't matter that I've seen people that didn't spray anything and they just roll it. But the mere fact that water and heat have come to play, the disulfide bonds, let me know if that's been working, but this disulfide bonds is the reason why your hair will maintain a particular shape for a period of time, as long as water doesn't touch it. But then again, this is not to say someone will palm roll and have it retwisted. The basic key thing is having it to dry adequately. And that is why I would tell people that's the more reason why, even if most people say I don't go on that to dry, I say, but whatever it is, you style your hair. That style is not what to make your hair to lock. That style is putting your hair in a position to dry very well. So the disulfide bonds work well and keep your hair twisted. Some people are afraid to have that twist unwrapped because they think that is the twist that is locking hair. But guess what? You can never know how much your hair has locked until you have washed your hair. But that is when the shed strands you had shed will come to play and form the tangle that makes your hair to lock. It's not the product. People should get off thinking that, I have to do so much. I used to use products, both for clients and myself. But the minute I got to understand the build-up and the effect it had, I said, what do I need it for? So now I have been winning people off the app for the past 5 years. I've winning people off products. And I'm saying, look, you just need a basic natural oil. Oil your scalp, twist your hair, let it dry properly. And then you shouldn't keep a style in more than 2 weeks. Losing this hair, let this hair down, let it vibrate, let it feel free, let it breathe.
And let it
it's not the styling that exactly, let it just flow. And then keep your eyes. Some people are still looking at their base of their hands. My hair is still unwrapped. Meanwhile, their locks are reached their bottom. growth. It was not locking.
No, it's a constant process. It's a constant process. You grow new hair, your new hair has the same time, requires the same time to lock as the hair that's already locked. It's a constant process.
If they remember how they started their locks, how it went through that process before it locked, every new growth that comes on will still go through that process.
Exactly.
So why the hurry? And then people have to understand this thing of people say, oh, I'm leaving my hair to be fallow. I'm letting it to relax. I will not retwist my hair for months. They should stop deceiving themselves. When it's time to retwist your hair, go and retwist your hair. Because the more growth you have, let me tell you, for every 1 inch of hair you grow out, just about a quarter will lock per time, depending on how it's being groomed. Only a quarter of that 1 inch will lock per time. So people should stop letting their hair go fallow for so long because they want to take a stipulated time. The more consistent you are, if you're going to be a monthly person, maintain your monthly thing. If you're going to be a 6 week, but you see that one of you used to be a monthly person, let's say start doing for 4 months. Your hair will suffer. And if you're one person, if you're the person that your hair grows out of your lock, in fact, there's so much talk about this locks thing. Grows out of your lock, grows they were one start, we won't finish.
So definitely there has to be a comeback of this. So be sure that I'm going to be inviting you to something else. Maybe the next time we would have you on, we would have graduated into a video podcast at that point. But there is a lot to talk about. But I think in my perspective, I won't say I allow, but I really love the medium of expressing oneself. So when I understand what somebody wants to achieve from their locks, you're able to guide them on that process. So if you decide that you don't want to retwist your hair for 4 months, and why? Because you are tired of coming to the salon, it's giving you more peace, you like the way it looks, which is half locks and half unlocks. I'm like, by all means, as long as you are happy with the hair and you're not having any expectation that is not possible, then yeah, that's fine. So Chiaka, it is with so much sadness that I have to bring this podcast to an end, because I know that we are capable for speaking for 24 more hours. But I have really and thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you more in the future. And please keep up the good work with the mantra, the work you're doing on Instagram. I really do love it. I personally, if I didn't have a business, I probably wouldn't be on the internet. So I am doing my best to show up when I can. So every now and then you see my face.
I'm guilty as charged on that one. I've learned to leave myself to be at peace. I show up when I can. I don't stress myself.
Yeah. So, but well done. You're doing awesome work. And it would surprise you that somebody in America sent me one of your posts. I think you had done, I think the person was trying to test my knowledge. I remember you had done can you tell what method is which? And the person sent it to me and I was like, yeah, this is interlocking, this, that. This was like, oh, how do you know? And I was like, oh, where did you get this from? I was like, Chiaka. I was like, how do you even follow Chiaka? So, and he's bald, by the way. So you are reaching more people than you even think. So well done. And
thank you.
I wish us both the best. And thank you very much for being on the podcast today. Let me allow you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right.
Thank you, Ade, for having me. And I'm sure that God giving me life and keeping me in good health, I will surely turn up whenever the need arises. Right?
Thank you so much. All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
If you've gotten to this point of the episode, I'm glad you stayed on. I told you in the beginning it was going to be a very gistful one. Well, a few things to remember. Doing your research is very important in choosing a loctician that will work for you in starting your locks and maintaining your locks. And it is ultimately your decision, to make the choice of locking your hair, and your loctician is only there to guide you. Locticians also agree that the comb twist method is the most favored for starting your locks and continuing on with the palm rolling method. It gives you the most luscious locks. Other methods are also available to you depending on your lifestyle and on your choices. You have to work with your loctician to choose what really works for you. We talked about other things in this episode: types of locks, methods of locking your hair, instant locks, products, and well, it was a fantastic one. I hope you did enjoy it. In our next and final episode in the Meet the Expert series, we'll be talking to a dermatologist. That conversation promises to be exciting and packed with tons of information. I would like for you to join me when it does come out, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Talking Locs with Locitude podcast. It has been such a pleasure being your host. My name again is Ade Balogun, and many thanks to our producer, Savage Media. To listen to previously published seasons and upcoming episodes in the Meet the Expert series, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We are currently on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and Deezer podcast. You can also find us on YouTube and our RSS feed. We are the Talking Locs podcast. Also, please don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at Locitude, LOCITUDE, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until our next episode, don't forget to keep it locked with an attitude. Bye.